میں پہلے آپ سب کا شکر گزار ہوں کہ آپ یہاں پر آئے اور کچھ ڈھونڈنا پڑا کہ مولانا رومی کے بارے میں کس نے کام کیا ہے, کتنی کتابیں لکھی ہیں, کیا جانتے ہیں ان کے بارے میں. لیکن اس کا ایک مقصد ہے, یہ صرف اکیڈمک مقصد اس کا نہیں ہے. ہم یہ سمجھتے ہیں کہ جو ہمیں ورثے میں ملا ہے, which we have inherited for last several centuries, تو جو علم ہے, جو انہوں نے کہا ہے, اور جو یونیورسل ٹروتھس جو ہوتے ہیں, وہ شاید آج کی بچوں کی جنریشن جو ہے وہ اس سے زیادہ واقف نہیں ہے. تو ایک خیال دل میں پیدا ہوا کوئی ہفتہ بھر پہلے, میں نے پھر وار صاحب سے بھی اس بارے میں بات کی کہ یہ جو ورثے میں ہمیں ملا ہے, آپ اس کو لوگوں تک کیسے پہنچا سکتے ہیں, خاص طور سے یوتھ کو. آپ یونیورسٹیز کالجز میں پڑھاتے ہوں گے, ان کے فلسفے کو پڑھاتے ہوں گے, ان کی سوچ کو پڑھاتے ہوں گے, لیکن وہ مجھے لگتا ہے کافی محدود رہتا ہے. تو اس میں سول سوسائٹی ایز سچ انوالو نہیں ہوتی ہے. یہ اتنے عالم ہوتے ہیں یہ لوگ, اتنے اسپریچولی ایلیویٹڈ ہوتے ہیں کہ وہ بول نہیں سکتے. تو اس لیے بڑا ضروری ہو جاتا ہے کہ ہمیں کبھی کبھی یہ ایسے پروگرام منعقد کرنے چاہیے تاکہ ہم ان کو ہی صرف نہیں, جتنے بھی اسلامی اسکالرز گزرے ہیں اور جو انٹرنیشنل فیم کے ہیں, ان کو اگر ہم یاد کریں گے تو یہ ایک سیریز بن جائے گی, تو ایک بڑا اچھا پروگرام بن جائے گا جس سے کافی لوگ اس سے تعارف ہو سکتے ہیں.
بنو میں خداوند جان آفرین, حکیم سخن در زبان آفرین. جلال الدین ان کا نام تھا. بلخ میں ان کی پیدائش ہوئی ہے 1207 میں. بلخ جو موجودہ افغانستان میں ہے. وفات 17 دسمبر 1273 کونیا میں جو اس وقت ترکی میں ہے. کل عمر 65 سال. ان کے والد بہاؤدین جو شہر کے نامور عالم دین, قاضی اور درس و تدریس پہ فائز تھے. یہی وجوہات ہوئی کہ مولانا جلال الدین رومی بھی اپنے والد بزرگوار سے کسب فیض حاصل کر پائے شریعت اور طریقت کے تمام علوم. یہاں سے ہجرت کا ایک سبب بنا ہے. وہ سبب بنا ہے سلطان محمد خوارزم شاہ, جو اس وقت سلطان تھے بلخ کے. ان کے ساتھ ناراضگیاں ہوئی. ناراضگی کے باعث انہوں نے ہجرت کی, تارک وطن ہوئے اور کونیا میں آ کے بسے. یہ خلفشار کا وقت تھا, مجبوراً وہاں سے انہوں نے ہجرت کی. اس کے بعد شیخ صلاح الدین زرکوب اور حسام الدین چلبی کی صحبت سے اور ان کی صلاح سے انہوں نے کونیا میں درس و تدریس کے ساتھ ساتھ جو شریعت اور طریقت دونوں پیرایوں پہ چل کے ان کو مشورہ یہ ہوا ان اساتید کا کہ آپ ان موضوعات کو لکھیے. لکھنے کی ضرورت کیا پڑی کہ ان موضوعات کی ریلیونس کیا تھی, چونکہ رسالت مآب کے صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم کے وصال کے بعد سے ان کی مولانا کی پیدائش تک کا زمانہ 600 سال کا ہے. یہ 600 سال کا زمانہ خلفشار کا زمانہ تھا, جنگ و جدل کا زمانہ تھا, پرسکون حالات نہیں تو پرآشوب تھے. اس ضمن میں مولانا جب یہ موضوعات لکھے, اس میں بنیادی پہلو تھا دین اور شریعت کے موضوعات. اس کے ساتھ ساتھ ہم آہنگی کیا ہو سکتی ہے باقی ادیان کے متعلق, چونکہ مولانا خود بھی اور باقیوں کے ساتھ بھی ان کے ایسے مراسم تھے جن میں باقی اہل کتاب کے نامور شخصیات یا باقی حضرات بھی ان کو بہت نامور اور مقدس سمجھتے, جیسے شاہ صاحب نے ابھی خود کہا ہے.
I have actually lived in Europe for such a long time. I know how they think and how what is their relationship is just physical. It's not spiritual. It's totally a different ball game when we talk about Rumi and Shams Tabrizi. So therefore, let's not talk on those things, especially what I would suggest, what I'm actually going to talk about. Couple of things I talk. I had a tryst with Maulana Rumi while I was working in Europe. I was working for some time, I was working in University of Heidelberg And there was a seminar like this on Rumi. I was surprised, in a foreign country. It's way back in 90s, early 90s, and I was surprised that there is a Rumi being discussed in Europe and an European university and all that. So therefore, I went there and I saw a couple of scholars, like the scholars who are on my right side, and they gave wonderful talk on Rumi. And after that, I have my Facebook, what the picture. If you look at my email address, I have a Rumi's. Since that day, when Gmail started, earlier we had a Yahoo, and I have on Gmail my Rumi's picture. And also, I have a credit of naming the university, IUST University's library, Rumi Library. So that I said. Actually, what I want to talk about, I was yesterday looking at. I use a lot of AI chatbots, and I use them so well. I've taken a course to use these chatbots. I use three chatbots. I use the DeepSeek of China. I use the ChatGPT. I also use Gemini of the Google. All the three I asked the Rumi-Shams Tabrizi relationship. So therefore, that is where the role of the scholars who are sitting in this forum is becoming more important. Was a negative aspect of it also, but there is a very little information available about Rumi in the chatbots. Reason is one should look at how AI works. AI works on, that's why data is important. Coming from the technology side, data is important. That's why Facebook is important. Facebook is not important. That is giving you a platform to communicate to each other. Facebook is important because it is generating a lot of data, and that data is being utilized by either United States government or even Indian government or any other countries' governments. They use those data. So we have a very little data from the scholarship of you in these chatbots. So what we need this time is a perspective of a Rumi from our point of view, and we should plug the literature on that, because ultimately what happens is how chatbots work. They actually utilize the data which is available in the market, which is available in the air, which is available here, so they utilize that. So responsibility goes on scholars like you to flood it with the Rumi's translations, which are our perceptions of translation, which we perceive as the relationship between Shams Tabrizi and it is because most of the literature that is this time in the chatbot is from the Western authors. So therefore, you will get that kind of information. I was actually looking at. I asked the DeepSeek. Can you give me a picture? They are talking. Shams Tabrizi and this fellow is talking. Look what they got me. This is the Shams Tabrizi and the Rumi. This is from the chatbot DeepSeek, the Chinese one. Although there must not be much similarity, and I asked her thereafter, I asked her the ChatGPT, can you give me what conversation they are having? I will just say, Shams Tabrizi is, asking the Rumi, they call you the pillar of knowledge, Jalaluddin, the beacon of the city. Your students hang on every word from your lips. Tell me, what is the weight of all those books? The Rumi says, knowledge is a ship, Shams. It carries us across the ocean of ignorance. The weight is the weight of the anchor that keeps us drifting into the folly. So therefore, what I saw is very limited information. Even I'm not a scholar, but I have read the Masnavi, all the six books of the English translation. But that's not available in the chatbots. What should be our aim is how to reach to the younger generation. This generation which is in teens or 20s. We need to actually create a lot of literature to push it into the air, to push it into the chatbots of different areas, DeepSeek or whatever, ChatGPT and all this. We need to actually go to the basics this time. Yes, there is a relevance of Rumi. As a teacher, I know how much it is important for the student to know who is in technology. You see, even MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, they had to introduce humanities because they were saying that we are trying to create robots out of technology courses. So it's very important to ground today's technologists with a spirituality. Unless and until we do that, we will be losing our grip on humanism and humanity.
Maulana Rumi was well versed with all their thoughts and streams of thought anywhere they were. That was one of the important aspects of Maulana Rumi. And he was working on this hadith of the Prophet, the word of wisdom is the lost property of a believer. Wherever he finds it, he should pick it up. This aspect of Rumi is very important. And he also has laid much emphasis on making someone as one's guide. So he himself says, Molli hargiz na bashad mollarum ta gulam mein shams tabriz na shu. Means this was a permanent feature in the Islamic history and also Hindu history. They used to have guru or peer or some guide. And without guide, it is not possible to reach anywhere. So this aspect he has highlighted. And one important, couplet of Maulana Rumi has always impressed me. That is, Andri ra mi tarasho mi kharash, ta dame akhir dame farig mabash. In this way, keep on doing something, whatever, so that you may not stand still for even second. So they emphasis on action. So Iqbal was impressed by this aspect of Maulana Rumi to a great extent. And he says, Pir Rumi ra rafiq rah saz, ta khuda bakhshat ra sozo guraz. So Iqbal considered Maulana Rumi as his peer, as his rafiq. And that gave the passion which Iqbal had in his poetry. We have passionate thoughts. That is because of Maulana Rumi. So this is why, and one couplet which has always impressed me is, Aanki shera kunand ruba mizaj, ehtiyaj. And the thing which makes even the lions to work like the cats or the jackals, that is the poverty or dependence. So he was in favor of self-reliance. And we have to always try to be away from poverty. We have to be poor. We have not to be poor. Because mostly in Sufi thought, we think that we should be poor, we can reach closer to God. But Maulana Rumi was against that. We need to have wealth. We need to have property. Because otherwise we may be lions. We will be like jackals. That's a very important point. And one aspect which has been mentioned by Brother Shah Sahab, that is in the West, what is the importance of Maulana Rumi? I would like to, because of the past, I have a complete paper on Maulana Rumi, his law and other things, but because of the past of time, because I had to read the paper in Korea. I was invited for an international conference on Maulana Rumi.
जुलजलाल खुद फरमाते हैं, कहीं उन्होंने चांद तारों का जिक्र किया पैदा करने का या दूसरी मखलूक़ात का जिक्र किया है, लेकिन जब इंसान के तख्लीक की बात आई है तो वहाँ उन्होंने फरमाया है अना अहसनुल खालिक़ीन। दरअसल ये मौलाना रूम फरमाते हैं, बहुत सारी कपलेट्स में फरमाते हो कि ये असल में हुस्न का ही कमाल है। उनका एक शेर है, वजूद आदमी अज़ इश्क मी रसद बिकमाल, वजूद आदमी अज़ इश्क मी रसद बिकमाल, गर इन कमाल नदारी कमाल नुक़सान। लिहाजा मैंने जो रूमी का डायमेंशन चूज किया है वो यही जमालियात है। और मौलाना रूम मुख्तलिफ शोरा की बात कर रहे हैं जिन्होंने जमालियात पे कुछ कहा है। मिसाल के तौर पर खाकानी शेरवानी फरमाते हैं, माँ फित्न बदतुईन तू फित्न बदाईने, मारा निगाह दर तू तुरा अंदर आईने, ता आईने जमाले तू दी वो तू हुस्न खीश, तू आशिक खुदी ज़तू आशिक तर आईने। इकबाल को देखिए, इकबाल ने मौलाना रूम को इश्क की कारवान का अमीर बताया है। आप मुख्तलिफ शोरा जो मौलाना रूम के बाद आए हैं और जिन्होंने नाम कमाया है, उन सब का यही कहना है कि मौलाना रूम के अंदर जो उनसुर बा कमाल मौजूद था वो यही इश्क और हुस्न। کہیں انہوں نے مترادف اس کو استعمال کیا ہے. مثال کے طور پر علامہ اقبال فرماتے ہیں نعرزت عشق کی خونین جگری پیدا شد, نعرزت عشق کی خونین جگری پیدا شد, حسن مرضیت کے صاحب نظری پیدا شد. کہیں حسن کی بات تو کہیں عشق کی بات. اصل میں یہ دونوں ایک ہی. اور مولانا فرماتے ہیں کہ ایک خاص قسم کا ربط ہے جو انسان کو خالق کے ساتھ ہے.
علم کے بارے میں مولانا رومی فرماتے ہیں دیکھیے ہر طرف آج آپ جانتے ہیں کہ ہر طرف علم کی ظاہر میں جو ہے علم کی فراوانی آپ کو دکھ رہی ہے. ہم ہر کسی کو لگتا ہے کہ ہر جگہ علم بہت آ گیا, لیکن اصل جو علم کی ہے وہ علم کی اصل لوگ اس لیے نہیں سمجھتے کیونکہ مولانا کا ایک شعر ہے کہ علم ہائے اہل دل ہمارے شن, علم ہائے دل, علم ہائے اہل دل ہمارے شن, علم ہائے اہل تن احمال شن, علم را بر دل زنی یاری شود, علم را بر تن زنی باری شود. تو مانے جو سمجھ گئے ماشاءاللہ سے, اور جو نہیں سمجھے ان کے لیے کہ علم جو ہے وہ ایک ایسی چیز ہے کہ جو اہل دل کے لیے ان کا حامل ہے, ان کا مددگار ہے. جب علم کو دل پہ استعمال کیا جائے, اخلاص سے استعمال کیا جائے, خلوص نیت سے استعمال کیا جائے, صدق نیت سے استعمال کیا جائے, تو علم وہ ہے وہ جو ہے انسان کے لیے مددگار ثابت ہوتا ہے. علم ہائے اہل تن احمال شان, لیکن جو لوگ اسی علم کو زیب و زینت کے لیے, دنیاوی اصولوں کے لیے, دنیاوی حصولیابی کے لیے استعمال کرتے ہیں تو وہ علم ان کے لیے بوجھ بن جاتا ہے. علم تن زنی باری شود, کئی مقامات پہ لکھا ہے ماری شود, کہ علم کو اگر جسم پہ استعمال کیا جائے تو وہ انسان کے لیے بوجھ بن جاتا ہے, انسان کے لیے ڈسنے والا سانپ بھی بن جاتا ہے. علم را در دل زنی یاری شود, اور جب یہ علم دل کے لیے استعمال کیا جائے, دل کو مزین کرنے کے لیے استعمال کیا جائے, تو یہ آپ کا محبوب اور دوست بن جائے گا.
در راه طلب عاقل و دیوان یکیست, در شیوه عشق خویش و بیگانه یکیست, آن را که شراب وصل جانم دادند در مذهب او کعبہ و بتخانہ یکیست. اس پیج میں نے کچھ تمہید لکھی تھی, میں چھوڑ رہا ہوں. مولانا نے یہ بات کا سمجھنے کی آمدن شان با این دنیا برای کاشتن بوده نه برای درا کردن, زیرا دنیا کشتگاه آخرت است, اور دنیا مدرت الآخرہ. کیا کر ہمیں یہ بات یاد دلائی ہے کہ خدا کی یہ ساری آیات ہمیں بدن اصلی یعنی آخرت کی طرف لے جاتی ہیں. اور مولانا فرماتے ہیں کہ پشنا از نئی چون حکایت بھی کند از جدائی ہا شکایت بھی کند, اور مزید فرماتے ہیں کہ ہر کیسے تو دور مانند از اصل خیش باجوید روزگاری بسل خیش ان. تو مجھے میں سمجھتا ہوں کہ مولانا رومی کے بارے میں جو ابھی نشست ہوئی, اس طرح کی بہت ساری نشستیں ہونا بہت ضروری ہے. اور سوشل میڈیا پر جو ہمارے جو اسلاف اور بہت بڑے شعرا گزرے ہیں ان سے منسوخ کیے جاتے ہیں, جو جن کو ہم کشمیری بولتے ہیں چھگڑ شاہ. تو اس پر بڑی جو ہم یہاں اسکالر بیٹھے ہیں, میں تو گزارش کروں گا کہ کڑی نظر رکھی جائے, کیونکہ ہمارا ایک ورثہ جو ہے وہ برباد ہوتا جا رہا ہے. اب ہم یہ بات سمجھتے سے قاصر ہیں کہ کون سی بات اقبال نے کہی ہے اور کون سی بات اقبال نے نہیں کہی ہے, کون سی بات پیر رومی نے کہی ہے اور کون سی بات پیر رومی نے نہیں کہی ہے.
Today's scientist, he is having a specialization in tiny bits and pieces, but he is lacking the cosmic approach and the cohesion in this universe. And our ignorance has turned this universe into a multiverse. So we need to see it as a universe. And Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi rahmatullahi alayh, he believes in the unity of existence. He says, Nuri udar yumno yusro taht phok, bar saro dar gardanam chuta jotok. It's the nur, it's the light of my beloved, which is on my right and which is on my left, and which is on my head like a crown, and which is in my neck like a chain. So Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi says that the underlying reality of this universe, it is the ultimate reality, the be all and end all of the entire universe. Maulana gives I just saw this samosa and I saw this sandwich. I just remind hikayah of a parable of Maulana Rumi. He says in his Majalis Saba, he says that the main purpose of all these food items is to satiate one's hunger. We have burak mi khwaham, totmaj mi khwaham. He says like this. He says sometimes I want a sandwich. He says sometimes I want something else. Sometimes I want korma. But if my hunger is satiated by one food item, I will not need anything more. So means that the underlying reality is hunger. And all these items, these are the manifestations of the same hunger. So in the same way, he just quotes a narration, hadith of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, wherein Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, Allahumma arinal haqa'iqal ashya'i kama hi. Oh Allah, show me the reality of the things as things are, not as things appear to me. So there is a difference between the reality of the things and the appearance of the things. So Maulana wants to just move all this foam from the ocean, and he wants us to have a direct approach towards the water. So Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi says that we can have many approaches towards this reality. Maulana in no way believes that empiricism cannot be an approach. Maulana very much says that empiricism too is an approach towards the ultimate reality. And he says that these empirical things, these are the shadows of the ultimate reality. So the basic thing is that we have to be in unison with the reality. He says, Aftab Ahmad Dalile Aftab Ghar Dalile Bayad Azway Rumatab. Sun is the proof unto itself. If you want the proof, if you want the reality, just look at the sun.
रूमी और इकबाल राबीनी आया दर ज़मीरे बेकरां कुन फिकां दर जहाने मौत मरगे नागहां दर जहाने मौत मरगे नागहां हर पैगाम में हयाते जाविदां अज़नवाए इश्क शोर अंगेज शां अज़नवाए इश्क शोर अंगेज शां दर उरूके शरक शुद आतश रवां आफ्ताब आमद दलील आफ्ताब Dar dalilat poet alluye rumataw. It is translation. You would see Rumi and Iqbal open to view in the heart of God's infinite creative activity. Irfani says these. In the world, while death and sudden destruction seems to prevail, they are the message of an eternal life. By the heart-rousing melody of their poetry, fire began to run in the veins of the east. Sun is the undeniable proof of its own existence. As my friend said, sun is the undeniable proof of its own existence, and if you want a proof, just keep your face towards it. Like Rumi, I gave azan, call to prayer, in the haram, and it is from him that I learned the secrets of life. He served during the troublous times of the long past, and I am serving in this present age. So Allama Iqbal considers himself as Maulana Rumi of the present age, as a champion of peace and love. That's all.
The quote here at it ends our sections. God dictates the true believer. One listens to that language of the reality. Islam is submission to truth. So it is not a doctrine of truth. It is being open to the other, and that is to believe in revelation. To be open to the other, and the other is a neighbor also. Now, which interpretation is right? Which sect is right? Rumi was asked. He said, all the sects are in me. So that ends the debate. But then he further, I recall Augustine's formula in De Doctrina Christiana. He said, which interpretation of the Bible should be taken to be the most authentic? He answers, any interpretation which is in conformity with the first two commandments, love of God and love of neighbors. So any interpretation which teaches against this love of neighbor is to be rejected. So this is the golden test of rejecting sectarianism. Now let us understand. Rumi has somewhere he speaks about किसी बादशाह की कहानी कि किसी कान में इसको बताया गया, दूसरे बादशाह ने left the world, तो उसका दोस्त उसको कहीं मिलाता नहीं, when he said उसके कान से कुछ बोला, and he began dancing at this moment. काबले फन. Basically Rumi movement जो आपने एक बहुत ज़बरदस्त idea उठाया, I think we should organize Rumi sessions with first the elite, the rich.
मौलाना रूमी ने सुलह और इश्क के बारे में जो हमारी तवज्जो मबजूल कराई है, बहरहाल बहुत गोशों पे बात हुई। तू मगू हम बजंगत वज़ सुलमन चौयत, आप दूसरों पे दोष मत दीजिए कि वो क्या करते हैं, आप तो अकेले हो, आप कम से कम जितना आपसे मुमकिन हो सके आप कीजिए। तू मगो हम बजंगन वज़ सुलमन चौयत, तू यकी नहीं हज़ौरी, तू चरोगी खुद बर अफरूज। अगर दूसरों के दिलों को आप रोशन नहीं कर सकते, कम से कम आप तो खुद अपने आप को रोशन कीजिए। कि यकी चरोगे रोशन से हज़ौर मुर्दा बेहतर। यहाँ पे एक जिंद दिल इंसान की उन्होंने मिसाल, अगर चराग की मिसाल दी, वाकन एक इंसान जो है एक उम्मत के बराबर है। जिस हज़रत इब्राहीम अलैहिस्सलाम के बारे में उम्मत कहा गया है, गाय पूरी सोसाइटी, लेकिन वहाँ पे कोई हमें मर्द नहीं मिलता है, एक शख्स नहीं मिलता है, एक जिंदा दिल नहीं मिलता है। कि बेहस्त यक्कदे खुश ज़हज़ौर कामत कूस, बेहतर वही है अगर एक ही बंदा कायम है, इस्तिकामत वाला है, वो हज़ार उन टीडे हुए दरख्तों से बेहतर है अगरचे एक ही दरख्त उस बाग के अंदर जो मौजूद है वो खड़ा रहे।
Mr. Chairman, our fundamental question, how relevant is Maulana at present in this world of materialism, lust and greed, no value for life, has not been answered. I would like some speakers to throw light on that aspect. I know most of you are specialized Rumi writers. Rumi has come to me very late, and it has come through certain American writers. Is it worthwhile to understand Rumi through English language? And people who have gone to Konya, who have gone to that place and studied the culture and presented their thesis on Rumi.
Rumi has become very popular in the West, and our exposure to Rumi is through English. So, because we don't understand Persian, we can read very less Persian. But I would just like to point out that there is a constant attempt, which I've spent a limited amount of time in the West, but I've realized that there is a constant attempt to distort the message of Rumi, because we come from a certain sense of faith, and we look at Rumi as Quran in Persian, while as if you see how the West distorts this message is differently. Sheikh Nuruddin Nurani, who says, seek Mullah in Mola Room, otherwise don't seek one at all.
If you go around and talk to people here, perhaps they would not have an answer, at least not an informed answer. But I again repeat, we should have. So, one purpose of this club is that we should do something which is for larger good, and larger good should have larger audience. So my personal view or answer to what Zafar Sahab has asked is that yes, surely, जैसे हम भी इसमें बाजी साहब ने कहा कि quote Rig Veda saying that all noble thoughts should come from all directions.
When I was working on a manifesto, and I found few papers where these Western people are writing paper on Nizamuddin Aulia and manifesto having queer relationship. So it was a big red flag. I was like scandalized for the entire day. But you have to understand from the perspective which country, which place they are coming from, which tradition they are coming from. They will never understand the Peer-Muridi relationship we have here, because it's all platonic love. For them, it's all physical.
Exactly.
So they will always understand it in the physical terms, but our tradition, the Eastern tradition, it all has a platonic love in it. And when you talk about, we have so many instances. We have Shams Tabrizi and Rumi, we have Amir Khusro, Nizamuddin Aulia, so many other Peer. And that relationship, the purity of relationships, they can never grasp it. So unfortunately, what I might disagree with Rafia Wadi sir, we should not accept their version of Rumi because it's a propaganda. The understanding of Rumi is for us is something really
So I could go to first to Maulana, Shams Tabrizi's grave. There was Jalal. I could experience that. And when I reached to the tomb of Maulana Rumi, there was Jamal. So basically, if we don't understand what was the disciple and the peer relationship in the Islamic Sufism, we will distort it. As people are in West, they are doing, because they do know the tradition. They are just seeing that they do know the author. They are seeing only the text, death of an author, as you know. So in this way, we have to see that in the totality. And that is only possible when you are rooted in the culture and civilization and legacy. So if you want to understand Rumi in a real sense, you need to read Rumi from Persian sources, or from the people who are well versed in Persian. Because I have translated the Murush into English. And I saw the translation of Hawrani, George Hawrani, a great scholar. But I found that a lot of distortions he has made, despite being a great scholar. Because culturally and civilizationally, unless you are not addicted to something, you will definitely distort it. But since Rumi is such a universal and global figure, people are tempted to study him and read him and get inspiration. And we should acknowledge, we should welcome that. But for our understanding, we need to have this knowledge about Rumi from our sources, that's very important. Otherwise, we distort it. Second point is how much relevance he is in that sense, relevance of Rumi. I find that Rumi is the ultimate, I should say, the epitome of the Islamic mystical thought. I will not say philosophical thought because I have some reservation about that. So he has tried to prove literature, poetry, and mysticism. He has combined those. And then his exposure to other cultures and civilizations, his knowledge about the Islamic cultures, and especially literary aspects of other cultures, that is very great. So people find that we have something in Rumi, whether from West or East, so they can't disown him, they want to own him. And we should not disown those people who own him, whatever their understanding, till we are able to convince them that what's actual Rumi. And that's at least a plus point for us, that someone he is representing us in the West. Otherwise there's a lot of distortions. They think that they were the barbarians, they are the human animals. That is the statement of some of the Israeli ministers. So usually this is the concept about us. At least they consider Rumi as one of the representatives of Islam, and sometimes Ghazali also, and Ibn Arabi. So we should just bank on those people in order to have dialogue with the West. And with the passage of time we'll be able to tell them what is the actual Rumi. But this time we should not criticize them so that they will just get, their spirit may be dampened and they will not study Rumi more. It will take some time. And there have been people who studying after Rumi, they became Muslims. I have seen some of them. So there is potential in this. In this way we need to do a lot of work, but we have to make Rumi relevant to the West, but from the Islamic point of view also. But till then, we have to bear with whatever is being done by the people in the West. And if we can make some corrections, we should do that. But we should not discourage people to study Rumi, whatever approach they have.
मिशन के तरीके से हम इस जैसे प्रोग्राम को और आगे चलाएंगे. उसमें चाहे इमाम गज़ाली हो, इब्न अरबी हो, अल्लामा इकबाल हो, जो भी ज़बरदस्त नाम जो हैं, जिनको कम से कम इस सदी के लोग, 21वीं सदी के लोग नहीं बोलेंगे, तो लेकिन उनकी जो ये दिन होते हैं, चाहे बर्थडे हो या कोई भी बर्थडे हो, तो उसको अगर कमेमोरेट किया जाएगा तो एक अच्छी बात रहती है, एक अच्छी मैसेज, एक अच्छा पैगाम लोगों में चला जाता है. और ख़ास तौर से यूथ के लिए, उनके लिए बड़ा ज़रूरी है कि कम से कम उनकी बातों पर अमल ना करें, तो कम से कम ये तो पहचानें कि ये ऐसे अशख़ास तारीख़ में रहे हैं जिनके मतलब जानना ज़रूरी है. जस्ट शेयर आउट ऑफ क्यूरियोसिटी. इट इज़ नॉट दैट यू आर ए स्टूडेंट ऑफ Maulana Rumi or any other great scholar or philosopher or a poet. Even out of curiosity to understand them, who these people are, how they have understood the existence of man, how they have understood the very creation itself, how they have reached certain levels where, as I said earlier, difficult to reach, but they told us what they found at that level. They have been really, in the true sense of the word, great people. So, in this background, in this perspective, I thought that we will request all our scholars here who are here. But as I said, during your discourse, please tell us how this can be shaped, how we should move forward, and continue with this kind of a program. This is true that our education system is compartmentalized. Now when you compartmentalize it, another difference between those people, great people, and us is this. They integrate this knowledge. We don't. If I'm a lawyer, I will look at it straight, black and white. To me, there is no gray area. A philosopher will look at it differently. A scientist will look at it differently. An academician will look at it differently. Most important thing in life is how to integrate this.